real business owners.
Welcome back to the Real Business Owners Podcast. This is episode 70 with myself, Trevor Cowley. As always, Kel Goodman.
What's up?
Guys, today we have a special guest for you. I mean, we might as well call this the Money Podcast. This is a podcast that anybody that does any business at all should be able to benefit from. So it's going to be a treat for all of you. So we've got a good friend and an individual that we actually met in one of the entrepreneurship groups that we are in, Apex. So we have Tony Kassaei.
Kassaei. Sneeze and put a K in front of it.
Yeah,
Kassaei.
So now Tony's a good man. Tony, tell us a little bit about your background a little bit, and then we'll kind of lead up to where you are at this point in business and start doing a deep dive into some of the stuff that you do and how it can benefit everybody else.
Yeah, brother. Well, thanks for having me. First of all, man, this is a beautiful office you guys got here.
And appreciate it.
Took a drive out here from California this morning. I think I left at 4 a.m. So if I'm a little speedy here, it's just because of the coffee.
Exactly. He's not on Adderall or anything else.
No.
We just threw a big cup of coffee in his hand to liven him up a little bit. So.
Yeah, man. So, coming out here, it's been really cool just hearing what you guys have accomplished. And, it's just kind of really nice to be able to chat with guys that know exactly the lingo and know the benefit that it can bring. And it's just kind of cool shooting the shit with you guys. So I appreciate it.
We're glad you're here.
Yeah, we enjoy it too.
Pleasure.
Dude. So.
Yeah, man. So I just started in the financial services industry pretty young. If you ever seen the movie Pursuit of Happiness with Will Smith, that was pretty much my life.
Yeah.
I had a beat up truck around the corner. I think in the movie he doesn't even have the truck.
Yeah.
Or he doesn't have a car.
So you were one step ahead of him.
I think I had an old Toyota Tacoma that my dad had given me, a stick shift.
Yeah. That thing probably still running somewhere
probably,
today.
Man. Absolutely.
Toyotas are reliable.
You just rolled up in Wall Street with your old beat up truck and looking for a job, huh?
Dude, I got the job, and that's a whole other story. But just like in the movie, you hustle, and out of 700 people, you become top 20, and so you get a lot of attention and climb that corporate ladder. There's a financial advisor. I think I was one of the youngest ones that they had on board. And from there, man, UBS investments, kind of Citigroup investments, you can always get recruited within that world.
Oh, yeah.
And then eventually, just like you guys know, you're like, well, shit, why do I want to pay the man?
Yeah.
I want to do my own thing. So went independent, had my own firm. And I am now kind of going to tell a story. I think you mentioned something this morning about the post that I'd made on socials, my belief in what's going on with the market. Yeah. Kind of, which is, man, we are in crazy freaking times. So
man.
I think it's time for me to tell my story, dude.
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah, man. So I think I'm going to walk away from certain things so that I can actually talk, so that I don't have the regulations stopping me from talking, if you will.
Yeah, there's a lot of red tape in the financial industry. And
it's brutal.
There's been people reaching out to us, hey, what should I do with this or that? And it's like, hey, we're not financial advisors, because of all the red tape. We own an accounting firm, but
I started studying to go get my Series 7 and all this stuff, and then I started finding out that affects all my other businesses. In fact, I might not even be able to do them. So I was like, never mind, I'm not going to go down that path.
Was there a major love just for the hustle and the grind in that industry initially, and has that dwindled a little bit, and that's why you're wanting to shift gears? Or kind of tell us a little bit about maybe where your head was at when you went in versus the evolution of Tony and where you're at right now, kind of mentally, because that's a cutthroat industry, right? That's a tough industry, and everybody that says, hey, I'm a financial advisor, it's almost like bug spray. Everybody wants to run the other way because, they think that you're trying to dig into their pockets.
I'm a little bit more crude. I always say, it's like you have herpes or something. Everybody just kind of runs away. Yeah. But, you start in the industry. I remember when I passed my Series 7, it was one of the proudest days of my life. Wow. I picked up the phone. I called my mom. And you're just, you're happy. You're going to get to wear a suit, a business card. You have a fancy office. And it felt good, man. It felt really, really good. You'd seen it in the movies. Yeah. Wall Street, the movie Wall Street that we've all seen. But all the other movies that are associated with it. Yeah. But now you look back, you're like, well, shit, all the movies make it look like such a shitty industry. Yeah. Boiler Room, Wolf of Wall Street, etc.
Yeah.
They never...
Limitless one? I was like, dang, it's cutthroat.
And all those movies exist because that's what's happening. Yeah. And that's my issue right now. I don't like seeing people get hurt.
Yeah.
And when you look at these firms and you look at all the bullshit that happened the last time the economy crumbled, not one of those motherfuckers is in jail. Not one of them.
Yeah.
And the stories that I have to tell and the things that continue to happen after that, there's an entity that's supposed to protect these investors.
Yeah.
They're not doing shit.
Yeah.
All they're a for-profit empowered by Congress sitting on $1 billion in cash. And I'm probably getting outside of the realm of what we want to talk about.
Yeah, no, you're good.
But you can see I get worked up about it, man. I hate the fact that people are getting hurt, and it doesn't have to be that
Do you
way.
think most financial advisors are mainly just advising people based upon what they can make the biggest rips from, like the biggest commissions, versus what's really best for the client? Do you think that that's the majority of the industry, half the industry, a small portion of the industry? Because there's always an exception that makes, so salespeople, right? If you're a salesperson, sometimes you say, hey, I'm in sales. Some people think that, oh, you're a sleazeball because you're a salesperson, right? But yeah, there are bad apples in the bunch. But I wouldn't say that every salesperson is a sleazy or a bad salesperson, right? So what's your take on the industry as a whole in terms of, hey, my goal is to try to make as much money off of you as possible versus my goal is really to try to help you build wealth?
T, I'm glad you brought that up because I definitely don't want to disparage the industry, or much less there's a lot of really good people that work within it. Okay. And there are a lot of people that are getting help, and people need help. I mean, the alternative is robo-advisors and all that other bullshit. And we've seen where that happens. It's like robo-tax people. It's like, come on, dude, you need a specialist in there. I think the issue, and I think just like I don't think it's a few bad apples. I think there are a lot of bad apples. But for lack of a better phrase, it is a pyramid where the money has to flow. At the top is this entity that's fining and fees and crap that goes to the broker dealers, whether that's UBS, whether it's Morgan Stanley. Then underneath that, you have these independent channels that are competing with the big boys that are advertising at the golf, tournaments, et cetera. And you're paying for all that crap. You're paying for the logo to be on the NBA. You're paying for those fancy offices and stuff.
Or the big golf cash outs or whatever, when it's sponsored by some big financial firm. That money's got to come from somewhere.
They're like, Wells Fargo got hit with $500 billion in fines. Well, who got the fines? Right?
Yeah,
did it go to the consumers?
Yeah.
There's still people getting foreclosed on their homes.
Yeah.
Where did that $500 billion go? To these motherfuckers making money. Yeah. And then they grind down the people, and it's just a business model. The compliance is a business model. That's my issue with that industry. And then it creates a toxic environment. Yeah. So you do get good brokers, and their intentions are right. Yeah. But then it's like, hey, one of the stories I'll tell you later is you get free Britney Spears ticket if you sell this fund. Well, what's the fund called? It's called the Morgan Stanley blah, blah, blah fund. It's branded, and of course those funds have the higher fees and embedded. So as an advisor, you want the accolades from the sales manager, and I'm not saying this about Morgan Stanley specifically, but I'm giving
just
you an
in
example.
General.
But it's little things like that, man, to where if you really want to strip out the profit model, the other problem with the industry became on the last administration is they started going after them where if you're an attorney, if you charge $5,000 and you make a lot of money, you get the front magazines of Attorney of the Year. If you're a dentist in Beverly Hills, you can charge $3,000 for a root canal, and if you're over here, it's $500. Yeah. This is the one industry where you're professional, you get licensed, but then they grind you down. Well, if this client could have paid less fees, you should have done this. And the moment there's a complaint, it's on your permanent file. They've created this environment where you're kind of like, do I do it this way? Do I do it that way? You're constantly juggling the rules.
You're just trying to navigate these weird regulations and rules that, in some cases you don't know where the line is or where it isn't, and then it's just fuzzy.
It is super sad though when these agencies that are supposed to protect people just turn into a big pay-to-play Godfather. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, you can stay in business, pay us all this money. Yeah. And that doesn't go back to people. And that is wrong. So
well, we know that's also what's wrong. I mean, not to go too far off the topic, but that's also what's wrong with politics. It's all pay to play, right? I mean, that's when things start getting maybe initially the concept was pure, but it starts getting diluted by greed and this and that, and then the pay to play comes in and whatever it is, right? So, anyways, that's a little background on Tony. He was in the financial industry. He's removing himself from the financial industry. He's kind of has a bad taste in his mouth.
To a point, there's elements of it that I'm going to still keep on, but I don't want to be aligned with any of these, the Fidelities, the Morgan Stanleys, the UBSs. I have the ability and the licenses to accomplish instead of paying all these rounds of fees and commissions and costs for the clients, let's just do it more of in a private level. It's just similar in that, you guys have kind of redefined the game in what it is as well. And I'm sure there's some parallels between what you see other CPAs do or the models that you guys did to really streamline what it is that you guys do. Yeah. So I would kind of, parallelize it like that or compare it like that.
Yeah. You're definitely still in the financial industry.
Yeah, absolutely.
What we're going to talk about today is really a cool product that can help so many people, small, large, medium business owners. And I'm excited to educate people on it because,
likewise.
People don't even know that they can be getting this money.
Yeah.
And there's so many different things you can do.
That's why it's going to be a Get Money podcast. Because it's not about getting your money, it's about getting you money, right? And usually when the financial industry, when we say that you're a financial industry, they're going to say, get money. What, you want my money? No, that's not what this podcast is about. This podcast is about figuring out ways to line your guys' pockets, to make you guys, keep more money than what you have been keeping in business through some cool, credits, right?
Correct.
So Tony really specializes in research and development. They call it R&D, okay? So what's super, super cool about this is pretty much almost every business you would say would qualify, right, for the most part?
Yeah, there's a couple of industries right off the bat that we can audit. I mean, there's very minimal litmus test qualifying questions, right? The concept of R&D, you hear that and you think a scientist or a white lab coat.
Oh, yeah.
So the problem is if right now you and I didn't know each other and I said, hey, do you think you qualify for a research and development tax credit? Your first inclination is to say no. Most people is.
Yeah.
In fact, the statistic is 95% of small business owners who qualify for this credit, and it's a very healthy credit, they don't even apply.
Yeah.
Many variables for why they don't.
Yeah.
But the two industries that I would say don't is fast food and quick service casual type restaurants. And the reason is there hasn't been that much innovation. You go to McDonald's, you get a burger, you get fat, you go home. Maybe the menu screen changes, maybe there's some automation, but if anything, that creates less jobs. This credit is existing. It's a great credit to create jobs, create innovation, create growth. The other one is hoteling, hospitality. Same idea.
Hasn't changed much.
Hasn't changed much. Maybe the key card changed, et cetera. Now, if you designed Expedia, different story. You innovated. You created a job. Same thing if you created DoorDash. So that's why there's never a no. It takes us 10, 15 minutes to figure out if you qualify. It's free and it's free money for the first time in my life. I don't need you to invest with me for me to get paid. Let me get you money and then we get paid.
It's there to stimulate our economy. It's there to stimulate 100%. Our country and create more businesses, more jobs. But from what I was reading, man, it's like only the big corporations are actually taking advantage of it. The big dogs, right? You know, so most small business owners are not even. It's not even on the radar.
Well, I mean, I think that I think the reason why it's not on a lot of small business owners' radar is because small business owners are so busy running their business and they're on the front lines. So a lot of small businesses, their entities aren't even proper for where they're at in business. Somebody might be taking $100,000 a year home or $200,000 a year home, and they're still under an LLC when they might need to be an S corp, right? Because they're just so focused on the business that they're blind to maybe some of the things that they're doing wrong because they're so deep in the shit of their company and addressing problems on a day-to-day basis. They don't have time to sit here and research, what tax credits there are, what can I qualify for, what I don't. Their main goal is to make sure that their business stays open, right? But
that's why we're bringing it to them.
Correct.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. What I thought was the same thing that you just stated. Research and development. Well, we haven't sat back and just sat at a computer for a year researching shit and developing something crazy. We've built CRMs and things like that. And even Tony, just coming into the podcast, was talking about, look, you guys bought equipment for the podcast. Somebody got trained up in order to edit the videos, and we took on a risk, without any sort of guaranteed ROI on this investment. And there's things like that people are doing in their business. They're developing something new in their business, like a podcast or whatever it is, that falls underneath these type of research and development guidelines. What you guys need to understand here is he's talked to business owners directly, and they've went to their CPA and says, hey, what do you know about research and development? Most of them know very, very little, and Then there's ones that think that they know, but they don't know, because then they're advising their client, oh, well, you don't qualify for that. And Tony's taken 10, 15 minutes from them, got a series of questions answered, and got people like that a 6-figure check.
Correct. Sometimes 7 even. I mean, it's those take a little bit longer. One of the things we always say is there's no guarantees, and obviously I at least don't give tax advice. I have all the licenses on the financial services side, but on the CPA side of it, and you brought up a really good point, T, is that Amazon is a big recipient of these credits. You get these massive mega corporations, and it's because the Deloittes, the KPMGs, et cetera, the massive...
Because they're hiring all the biggest and the best firms?
No, there's a circular ruling, and I forget the code right off the bat. I believe it's 134, 133, but it's a IRS ruling that came out that said a CPA cannot make a percentage of the recovery that they get for a client. Okay. And it's a good rule because it would create a conflict of interest. If the CPA is like, hey, let me just push the envelope because he knows he's going to charge a percentage of how much lower you pay in taxes, you're now creating, an environment.
They might start throwing today. They might start throwing write-offs on there that really aren't write-offs, or they start pumping because if you get a $50,000 return and they take 50%, then that's more money for them. And when you get audited, it's you getting audited, not them, right? Correct. So it puts you in a situation where you have to prove, obviously, these write-offs that the CPA took. And usually the CPA doesn't know the write-offs unless they have a conversation with you and say, this is what this is, this is what this is, this is what this is. But if they're that incentivized, just with any industry, there's good people and there's bad people. Yep. And there would be bad people that would probably try to take advantage of this, push it a little too far, and get a large amount of money funneled to them, and then potentially somebody get audited or whatever it is, and you're left kind of holding the bag a little bit. So,
and if I was your CPA and I wanted to see if you qualified, the only way I can get paid legally is to charge you by the hour. So being a small to mid-size, you guys approaching large-size business here, but I would come to you if I was a CPA, not knowing if you're going to qualify or not, because sometimes we'll get massive entities that look like they're going to qualify on paper, but then you dig under the hood, and because of the way they've structured their company or the way they ran their books, they don't get the recovery. But if I came to you and I said, look, it's going to cost about $15,000 to find out if you're going to qualify, you're going to be like, that's not really worth it. Yeah. If I come to you and I say, let me look at it for free, I can guarantee you there's going to be a recovery after looking at it. And when we recover, we're going to get a percentage. That's legal because we're not CPAs. You already have a CPA. Yeah. So we're taking the data from your CPA and seeing, is there a credit that we could have applied? And what's amazing about it is right now, in most states, you can go backwards 3 years. Federal, you can go backwards 3 years. So you're getting a big check up front, and then every year we go back and we do a new recovery, and it's not a boilerplate process. Right. It's a pretty labor-intensive study. We have a master's in MBA tax planners, which is the hierarchy, as you guys know, and that's really who we rely on. So these guys are not taking chances. Our audit rate is lower than the national average, so it's not triggering any kind of red flags, if you will. After the industry that I just walked away from, I want to be able to sleep at night. I want my clients to be able to sleep at night. So, man, I cannot tell you how important that is to me. And meeting you guys, this is not a story that I share with a lot of people because I don't want it misrepresented. I don't need people going out, I promise you're going to get this and pay me up front. Yeah. Dude, I want people to do stuff by the book that can help people, and especially in this environment. Yes. You're going to go to somebody and say, look, I think I can get you some money. If you do, great. If not, it didn't cost you anything.
Right. That's so great.
It's as simple as that.
What is like a typical starting point of like a client that you would even want to talk to? Like, have they got to be in business for at least 2 years, 3 years, 5 years? Do they got to be doing a certain amount of revenue? Like, you know what I mean? Like if somebody's like first year in business or even 3 to 5 years in business, but they're
only doing like $100,000 or $200,000.
Yeah. Like, is it like, oh, we don't want to waste Tony's time? Or is it like, no, man, there's some things there we could probably get for you?
If you're asking me personally, and we obviously have a staff and a group, but for me, my rule number one is I want to enjoy working with people. So if I don't like something, I don't care how much money's in it.
For sure.
Yeah, I mean, that business itself, maybe in 2 or 3 years, might be a $2 million business. Yeah. And, basically what Tony's saying, he's in the relationship business.
Right.
And this is something that we've already covered before on one of our podcasts. If you're in business, you should be in the relationship business.
Yeah, but you don't want to waste... You don't want to waste both your time, right? You know what I mean? So it's like, I was just wondering if there's like a starting point of like, man, if you've been doing this for a couple years and you've been doing X amount of revenue, you should definitely have this looked at.
Yeah, I always say, look, did you pay taxes? What's really important, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because I think the biggest differentiation is this is not a grant. It's not a loan. It's not an IDL. It's not a PPP. It's not money that's sitting in a slush fund. It's not people's tax dollars. It's your own money. Yeah. If you qualified, you've overpaid into the system. And in fact, when we go through the entire process and we get to the very end, there's going to be a number. And we come back contractually and let you know you're guaranteed that you're going to get that number. It's going to actually be a little bit more. Why is it going to be a little bit more?
Because you want to over-deliver.
The IRS pays you with interest. And because I don't know how long it's going to take the IRS to process your refund, we just tell you exactly what it is as if you had already filed your credits and got them 3 years ago. So I can guarantee you it's going to be higher because there's going to be an interest rate component. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I love that. How about,
so now it's their own money and they're getting paid their own money back and they're getting paid interest on their money?
Yeah, I like when the IRS pays interest.
Yeah. It's about fucking time.
Yeah.
And sometimes people are like, well, should we be quiet about this? This is a good credit, guys. I mean, there's an article, and I'll give it to you guys. I believe it's a Forbes article. It's recent. It's not written by a contributor. It's a real article, right?
Yeah.
And to me, it's just an instant validation of the structure, because it talks about COVID and talks about we're in unprecedented times. And for the first time in an environment politically where they're just butting heads on everything, they all agreed that, hey, we need to expand this credit. We need to put more money back in the consumers' pockets, because at the end of the day, the credit is expanding the tax bases. Amazon is one of the, if I'm not mistaken, biggest recipients of the credit. The reason for that is it's not because they are politically tied to the politicians. Maybe they pay less taxes, but by giving them $1 billion back, they're hiring 10,000 people at six-figure salaries. A six-figure salary person is at one of the highest tax brackets, right? So they've increased the tax base, so essentially they get back more.
Right.
You follow me?
Yeah.
And it is innovation, which by default is bringing, a lot of it is also bringing back manufacturing jobs, and manufacturing is the holy grail. Anybody that invents something, designs something, eyeglasses, I mean, you name the run of the gamut.
Yeah.
So going back to your question, who wouldn't? To me, it's like, dude, if it takes 15 minutes to fill out a form and there's a chance you're going to get at least 10 grand, that's worth my time. Especially if you're a cool person, and 10 grand can make, now it could be 10 grand. Based on your size of the company, I'll get an idea.
Right.
10 grand, $250,000, 100,000, 50,000. Free money is free money, dude.
What's the biggest one that you've ever got? You don't have to name who it was or anything, but
7 figures. Seven figures. Yeah, I think the 8-figure ones, to be quite honest with you, that's where those guys already have these massive top fives, and they're already getting hammered. Occasionally, but it'll be relationships, like you said. If I'm kicking it with Jerry, football teams qualify. So if I'm buddies with him, or if his grandson was doing it, I'm sure it would work. But
so let's just say it how it is real quick, just so that you guys understand. What we're talking about here is Tony doing a free assessment, basically, right? On your company and some of the things that you've done already. So you don't have to go through years and years and years of time and go through every single transaction individually. It's not going to take, days or, because a lot of people, we own an accounting firm. Entrepreneurs are busy. They get us stuff at the very last minute, or they put it off because nobody wants to deal with the numbers. It's just not the reason why they went into business, right? So the cool thing about this, guys, is what Tony does is it's what? You said it's 4 pages and takes 5 to 10 minutes to fill out these 4 pages. And from there, that's when they can start really looking under the hood and figuring out whether this is something that you could ultimately benefit from. So we're not talking about taking hours and hours and hours and you having to go through each transaction. It's not a headache type process. It's pretty seamless from what I understand. This is something that Tony's here in our office. This is something that we're going to take advantage of as well. And the reason why we wanted to just throw a podcast together is because we wanted to make it available to you guys. So something, one, that doesn't cost you any money at all. Secondly, only takes about maybe 5 to 15 minutes to fill out, whether it's something that you would benefit from. And third, $0 come out of your pocket to do this.
Right.
$0. It's again, free assessment, right? And Tony's been able to get some people 10 grand, 50 grand, 7 figures, as he just barely stated. Every company and every situation is obviously going to be different. What happens is if Tony gets you 100,000, he just takes a % of the money that he gets you back. And he does not get paid until the money's received. Until they have the money, right?
Yeah, there's a little caveat to that. And I, when you say Tony, I know it's in context, but it's important for me to explain. I'm not a CPA, right?
Yeah.
I sure as hell don't want to do this.
Yeah.
But there's people that enjoy it. They're masters in tax planner CPAs. So that's who we work with. And they're in-house. We're not sending this off to Calcutta.
Yeah.
That's the last thing you want with your tax return. So, no, man, I mean, this is something that, and to be honest with you, like I said, I had my own firm when I stumbled upon this.
Yeah.
I'd never heard of it. So when somebody first told me, I thought maybe there's some movie tax credits, energy tax credits, solar tax credits. I thought it was something along those lines.
Yeah.
So I educated myself on it. I was like, holy shit, it's actually real. And then I really dug in. And then I reached out to my partner, and he's been in the industry for 20 years, business partner, not sexual, which is fine.
Yeah.
But
Exactly.
No, but we really dived into it. And again, coming from the industries that we're in, we're very leery of fly-by-night.
Anything like that, yeah.
It's important to know that this thing has passed several administrations by getting expanded, refunded for a while. And a lot of people are like, why won't more CPAs do this? Well, it's a complex structure to understand. Right. And up until, I believe, an administration, if not the one before, it was temporary. It had to get re-voted in or refunded or reapproved, if you will.
Yeah.
So CPAs looking at it is like, well, I got to restaff. I got to learn this. I got to learn the nuances. It's going to get taken away next year.
Yeah.
I believe it was under Obama's administration that they signed it into permanent tax code. And because of that now, they're talking about expanding it and people are understanding it. So the word is slowly getting out. It's important to work with somebody that's done it a bunch. The firm that we're aligned with in terms of the CPAs that work on it, they've done it well over 4 years. They have over 60 million in recovery. And so we rely on that. The other question that you asked me kind of skipped my mind, but that's important to understand. It's not me doing it. When I found out about it, I said, well, I need to get this to my clients. And I started doing it that way. And then I was like, well, man, I want to educate other people. And so when people ask me, it's just something that I'm doing in addition to all the other things we're doing with the real estate development, the financial services. But this is fun because you're actually giving away money.
It's awesome.
Yeah, it makes it enjoyable to make somebody else happy, And when you're getting money that you didn't know that was even available, like that's big time. That's big time.
It can be a game changer, especially in this environment.
That's what we love about our tax planning, man. We love when we find people money they didn't even know about. But
isn't it a good feeling?
Yeah,
I mean, literally, it's such a warm time. I get goosebumps talking about it because I've had people call me up and say, "Did you just save my business?"
Yeah,
because they were about to shut down in the middle of all this bullshit, and they're now getting 50 G's or something.
True.
So it makes a big difference.
Are you guys having any problems with the IRS lately? I've got they levied my bank account in error, and I sent them all this proof. This is 2 years ago. I sent them all this proof that it was their error for an extension that wasn't filed, which it was filed. I sent them the proof. They still haven't paid me my money back, man. I sitting on this for 2 years. So do you find any people getting bottlenecked with R&D credits when they got money coming back from them? Because this has got to go through the IRS, right?
And then I want to piggyback on that and add to that question. What's the usual length of time as well? So is it bottlenecked right now? And secondly, what's the average time frame after somebody, let's say, does a 10-minute assessment?
I hesitate talking shit on an industry or the regulators after where I just come from and what I've been through. So I love you, IRS. Take my money. Yeah. No, I think, right now, obviously, the world is just an unprecedented, crazy time. So yes, it is definitely bottlenecked. Yeah. In fact, some of the ones that we've done, usually we used to say about 8 to 12 weeks if you're getting less than $250,000. As you approach the 7 figures, they're going through more scrutiny. We back everything we do. So if there's any, sometimes the IRS will look at an industry that they've never heard of. If some dude's inventing something, a widget that nobody's ever heard of, they may call up and say, what did this do? And our CPAs will handle it. It's not going to be the client CPAs.
Yeah, right.
Right now, it's bogged down, man. It's definitely,
without a doubt.
I'd say at least 3 to 4 months.
Hey, that's not too bad though. Yeah. But honestly, that should incentivize people more to get on the ball.
Even that, I don't commit to anymore. I want to get this done and
get it done.
It's the IRS.
It's going to happen when it happens. Shit, I'd wait 6 months for money that I didn't know that I had, right? Yeah. Like, you can't, it's not like you're paying Tony until you receive the money anyways.
Well, that part I also wanted to make sure there's no misconceptions because I definitely don't want any kind of a bait and switch or anybody to say, well, you told me it's not going to cost me
Let's
anything.
Clarify that.
All right, so this is really important, guys. Once we do the work, we look back and we say, upload your taxes to an encrypted portal. I never see your tax returns, nor do I want to, nor do I have any desire to. Right. So it goes back into our guys. They analyze it. They'll dive under the hood and they'll do a rough estimate. They'll pop out 1 year. And if they come back and they'll do an incentive analysis, they'll come back and say, look, you qualify for about 80 grand. And we'll come say, well, look, you're going to get a minimum guaranteed of 80,000. So you do the math, right? There's a fee associated when we get paid, and we get a third, right?
Okay.
Only if you're going to get a recovery, right?
Okay.
So now you say, okay, that sounds good, but now I get to look at 2, possibly 3 more years, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, it could be 3x, 4x, it could be nothing. I've seen it where they don't qualify for any other years except one.
Yeah. Okay.
But you know that that's your minimum. So you do the math. You're like, all right, I'm going to get 80 Gs. A third of that is X. This is going to be my cost. It's worth it for me. Now, if it's just 80 Gs, when we go back, we're going to do the paperwork. We're going to amend your taxes, put it into the DocuSign. It's all digital. It's all now, especially with COVID, we were already digital, but now it's even more so important for people. So everything's going to be done digitally. Your documents are not flying through the mail. At that point, we're going to come back and do a full study. We're going back under the hood.
Okay.
Initially, if we came back and said, look, we couldn't find anything, we did a shit ton of work. We spent money, but it didn't cost you anything. So it's 100% free. Now, at that point, I show you the 80 grand, and you still don't want to do it. Okay, stupid, but cool. You don't have to. But if now you want me to go and we're going to work, put in more man hours into it, you're going to sign one document that says when we come back with the final number, you understand that eventually we're going to get paid a third. Right. And we're going to go ahead and amend your taxes. And as you guys know, it's labor intensive.
Right.
At that point, when we come back, you're going to pay 50% of what your eventual fee is going to be. And if you have any concerns, throw it in an Amex. Charge it back to me. I don't give a shit. As you guys know, to have an Amex account, we treasure that. So we don't get chargebacks. People want their money. And we educate you on, look, you're going to get your money. And that cost goes, it's going to file and amend your taxes. So when you go to your CPA, you know you're going to get a refund. You don't say, hey, I'm not going to pay you until I get my refund check. Okay. You know what you're getting, but now you're going to pay the guy to file your taxes.
Gotcha.
That's what you're paying that 50% for. The remaining 50% comes after you get your money.
Right.
You follow me?
Gotcha. Okay. So, guys, what you need to understand is, we watched a little video prior to getting on here. It's basically stated that only 5% of businesses are even taking advantage of this. So I would probably say if you're listening to this, the type of people, even me and Kel have been in business a long time and we didn't hear about it. We own an accounting firm and we didn't really hear about, again, because you're talking about how many levels there are in research that needs to be done to even understand this type of tax credit. And that's why even high-power CPAs, a lot of them don't touch it. A lot of them don't even mess with it or even know about it in some cases. Hence why only 5% of businesses are taking advantage of it. So you can go back up to 3 years federally, 4 years state. Anybody that's even a sole proprietor, LLC, S Corp, or C Corp qualify?
Couple of caveats there. The 4 years, it's typically just certain states. I think California is one of them. And especially with this year, it got kind of screwy. And then it also depends on, did you file an amendment in that third year? So I roughly just say 3 years federal, 3 years state. Our guys are really smart. They'll know what to look for. And a lot of times they'll come back and say, well, we need your schedule this, or we need that year that you missed out. And then obviously with bigger entities like you guys and with multiple companies, people will have different, one's an S, one's a C, one's a drop-down LLC. So we'll start the conversation. And, like you said, 95% of business owners who qualify for this don't even apply for it. So it's worth a 5-minute conversation. I'm willing to do that with anybody, especially if we think they're going to get money. At that point, we put them in touch with our guys. They fill out the 4 pages, and we go from there. It's super simple.
How many people that see that they're going to get money back don't end up following through? Very minimal, or is it nobody, or has there been some weirdos that see 50 grand coming back and they're like, no, I don't want it?
You'd be surprised, yeah. You see that a lot. You see...
I think it's because of skepticism. It's almost... It feels too good to be true, right? Like you're just wondering, like, what the heck? How does this stuff exist? And little people know about it.
Or if people think they are going to get audited. Sometimes people are like, I don't care, keep the 50 grand. I don't want to deal with the IRS.
Yeah.
And people are scared of them, right?
Yeah, exactly. But he already stated that the audit is less than the national average anyways.
Right.
And it's important to understand when you guys, in your world, and I don't know, we haven't talked about this, but when somebody amends, typically they're changing their deductions, their income, their expenses. I haven't had anybody walk away because I think personally I addressed that up front. I'm like, look, when I get your tax, or I don't get your tax return, but I point out, I say, look at your income, look at your returns. We don't change any of those numbers. We're validating your purchases and identifying behaviors. The microphone that you're speaking into will show up on your tax return. Your CPA, if you did a good job, deducted it. You got your deduction. But you trained somebody to plug that in, to mix it into the mic. Those hours is what the IRS wants to reward you on. Right. So when we go through the questionnaire process, when our CPA does a behavior study on you, it's those behaviors and processes that they're looking at, the systems that you guys have put in place. I mean, you guys have really redefined CPA work. Those systems, you have a lot of proprietary, even building out a spreadsheet. Buying Excel is one expense.
We built our own custom CRM.
Dude, that's it. And the time that you took to find out which developer do you want to use, that is what the IRS wants to reward you on.
What about if, let's say, for instance, because this is our scenario, and I don't mind talking about it openly, we did work with multiple programmers. We paid one guy like $30,000 and he didn't deliver shit.
Which time?
Right. Exactly. No,
in which country?
My programmers were burned over and over.
For real. We've been burned quite a bit but the fact is that's an industry that only they know about. So even if they're sitting there like, we're doing it, this, we'll have this done. You can't check their work.
Yep.
What is it, a bunch of zeros and ones and stuff? Like, I wouldn't know where show me. Like, then they go into their back end and open it up and it's all coded, so you don't know what really has or hasn't been done. Nobody can verify unless you're another programmer. And then every single time we'd hire a new one to look at oh man, that thing's hanging on by a thread, or that program. Every programmer said the other programmer was shitty, which, dude, it's been such a headache.
We could do a whole episode.
We could do a whole episode.
I can tell.
Oh, God.
You both got animated on that one.
Man. So, but situations like that where you were actually trying to develop something and it didn't pan out or it didn't work.
Dude, I'm glad you asked that, man.
Because that wasn't more than a couple years ago that we paid some guy on payroll for $35,000 and he ate 16 burritos a day out of the freezer. I mean, that guy was milking us real good. But is that something that we could take advantage of in terms of development, even though it didn't get developed?
Yep. And it's almost like I give you a cue to do that, because that's one of the biggest things is failure is not an exclusion of the credit. Your attempt to do that, the IRS wants to reward you. Manufacturing, the reason the manufacturing becomes one of the biggest recoveries we usually see. Dentistry. In the old days, if you had a cavity, you'd go to the dentist, they'd put that little card. You guys may be a little bit too young for that, but they put this little card in your mouth and it hurt and you bite down on it. And then
my guy still does that. Is there something better than that?
You got a shitty dentist.
His dentist, 89 years old. And
there you go.
Stuck in his ways.
That is funny.
He's like, this is how we've always done it.
That's funny. He kind of looked at me like, where are you going with this?
Yeah, like, you're too young. Well, that happened last week. Get a new dentist, Cal, first off. Now that we've addressed that, we can move on.
Well, Blake, now there's this machine that comes from the ceiling. And it just sticks
if
there.
If it doesn't look like you're in a spaceship, you're in the wrong dentist chair. About to blast off.
That is customized. Now, the veneers, the processes that they go through, every person, they're designing a new smile, braces. That customization, for some reason, again, I'm not the CPA, that's triggering a lot of the levers for them to really develop these credits. So a lot of this was designed to bring manufacturing, bring innovation back to the states. And that's why it's such a fantastic credit. And again, seeing where politics are today, the fact that both sides of the aisle want this and are talking about actually expanding it for next year, lets you know that there's something going on with it that's good.
So do you get repeat customers just every single year? Like, once you find somebody a chunk of money, they're like, Tony, I want you to check this year, and it's just
you're their new best friend. You're Santa Claus, except you're not fake. In addition to that, it's not a boilerplate process. Each year is different. One of the biggest questions I get, and I still don't really know how to answer, what can I do to ensure to get the credit, right? Or what can I do to expand my credit?
What are some things that I could be working on throughout the year in order to qualify?
So that's kind of it's a good question, but I don't answer it not because of the legalities, but the fact of the matter is you're now giving tax advice. And let me give you an example. If I tell you to go do a behavior that's outside the stretch, like if I know a certain type of mic will trigger a different credit, you go do it, but because of some other nuance in your business, it didn't get you the credit. I now give you advice that maybe just screwed you up or you didn't expect.
You're the bad guy now.
So I say go do your business. Then once you file your taxes, let us look at it, and then we know the incentive. Now, what you can do to ensure that you qualify for your behaviors is keep track of now that I'm kind of educating you on what behaviors are, keep track of the man hours. When you guys bought this equipment, if a couple of staff members spend an extra 30 hours a week for a month working on learning that, you guys got the deductions from paying them as employees, but you also should get rewarded for the risk that you took for them to learn that. Now, what if the equipment didn't work out and it was a failure? Who cares? You're still going to be rewarded.
You still took the time and the effort and the money.
You got it, brother.
So once an investment, money goes out and it falls under this category, then you're good to go.
You're good to go, but again, this is such a complicated thing. We look at it, but once I come back to you and I say, this is what you're going to get, it's guaranteed. And we literally, and again, in my industry, using the word guarantee outside of CDs and annuities, it's really tough, man. But we put it in writing, 100% money back guarantee. And that money back is that first 50% once we've done it. Until then, you haven't signed anything. You don't do anything. It's a super low risk, not even risk, but just low labor. It doesn't take a lot of your time. You just upload. You've already filed your taxes. A lot of times they'll just have 3 PDFs. They upload those in these 4 pages. That'll take us 10 minutes, and we'll do that after here.
Yeah. So let's say I did it today. Let's just say, I went through the 4 pages, spent 5 to 15 minutes, filled it out. I get a call the next day, a week later. How soon do you start engaging with the potential customer or client?
So typically, and we've now continuously staffed up. This podcast universe is new for me. The organization that we're affiliated with, Apex, with Ryan Stewman, that one is also new to me in the sense that when I started talking about it, we got flooded. And to be honest with you guys, I started getting shitty service. So I just shut it down. And I said, look, I want to make sure that we can have the right staff, ramp up, because there's nothing worse than I want to manage the right expectations. So what we promise now, or that we're delivering and promising, is if today we fill out the form, I email it to our staff. Within typically 24, if it's a holiday week, in 48 hours, you're going to get a private encrypted link, and it's going to give you instructions on what to upload. 3 years tax returns basically, and then if you have your C Corp documents, it'll be a list. You upload that into the portal, typically within 2 weeks maximum. Typically 7 to 10 days, but I say 2 weeks just to kind of give us a cushion. We get the incentive analysis. Now you get a call. If it's myself, obviously we'll be handling it. But if it's one of our staff or somebody that we've worked on as a referral partner, if I educate you guys enough to the point, you don't need specific licenses. We license you in essence. We don't want anybody misrepresented. And that's, I think my concern about this is I don't want to piss off the IRS, or I don't want to reward anybody to go misrepresent it and give anybody certain guarantees. It's just let the professionals are the CPAs, and you guys don't say you're going to do people's taxes. You guys have a staff of people that you trust.
Everybody knows that.
And so it's the same thing, man. And so once it comes back at that point, we come back with incentive analysis. Like I said, that takes about 2 weeks maximum, and it'll pop out that number, and you decide at that point if you want to move forward. If you don't, you don't. If you do, you do.
So the time that it would take me to do this is 15 minutes.
If that. Correct.
15 minutes.
Correct.
And then I know whether
assuming you have your tax returns, on your computer or in a file somewhere. Okay. And then at that point, we send it back to our team. And at that point, it could take about 2 to 3 weeks max for them to look at all 3 years and come back with the final number. But typically, and then that's on a bigger company, or if you have multiple entities. If there's a back and forth where you're not completing the upload of the documents, that clock doesn't start. And it depends on if the clients respond. But we have a pretty responsive staff. Again, our guys are also rewarded based on the number of files that they process and completing files on time. And again, that back end doesn't come into us until we actually get the check. So we're incentivized to do this the right way, process the files as fast as possible, et cetera.
I already know somebody that would be great for this.
Us.
Well,
I always tell people, do it on yourself first. You learn it.
But what I'm saying is Mackenzie.
Yeah.
She developed that whole hairline.
Oh yeah.
That whole thing, in terms of the invisible bead extensions and stuff. So, I mean, she went through a whole process and she invented it. She built it, So
and it's created jobs and everything. So that's
her husband was in our her husband was in our office this morning. So it's just so crazy to me because it's almost just like a gift.
Yeah.
And so I just want to
give it away.
Get in the phone and be like, hey, dude. Because everybody, should want to be the bearer of good news, right? Yeah. Or share something that could literally change somebody's life potentially. You know, for us, would it be life-changing? No, it's not going to be life-changing. You know, if we get 100 grand, 200 grand, it's not life-changing for us. But 100 grand for some people right now, with where they're at in their life, with where they're at in 2020, dude, without a doubt,
DJ that was traveling the world that had a lot of tech equipment that was raving at,
partying
Tomorrowland or Coachella that was making 100 grand a set, who's sitting at home maybe on Zoom collecting $10 a pop. That guy spent a lot of money, and if he has the right staff and structured himself, that's life-changing for him. These guys went from making a couple of million a year to zero. Yeah. And that's one industry. Yeah. You know, dentists for a while weren't even allowed to see patients, or cosmetic, you know what I mean? You could go in for a cavity, but you couldn't go in for a boob job for the longest time down in Orange County. I don't think you still can. Yeah. And in Orange County, to not be able to let the ladies get the boob jobs, man, you talk about these doctors are hurting.
That's when you know.
The world has definitely gone upside down.
The entire economy would be shut down. I got a quick question.
We're in dark times, brother.
Yeah, exactly.
How about on these pass-through entities, though, like S-Corps?
Yeah.
And then the money does... the profits and all that flow through to you personally at the end of the year. Like, do they have to look at your personal and your business, or is it just a credit for your business?
No. Personal.
They need to see it all. Correct. So if we did do our company, we had to get all our partners' returns and our corporate returns.
Correct.
All right, it's good to know.
Yeah,
but super good. They're treated individually. So when we do come back with the credit, if you decide you want to do yours and he doesn't, you can do that.
Right. Okay.
So if there are partnerships and the company gets, let's say, $100,000. So does that, if there's 4 partners at 25%, do they each get 25 grand, or does the 100 grand go to the entity and then the money gets dispersed that way?
There's 10,000 different variations of it. It comes down to what you also did. If you did something weird, and this is where we're really bordering on, I don't fucking know. I don't want to know. I just want to know if I can get you money. That's really,
who's the check going to be made out to? The company or us personally?
That's what I want to fucking know.
That's all I care about. Can I ethically, legally get you free money?
Get me money. Flat out.
Because an extra 100 grand is life-changing money, even to someone like me. Because I'm going to take that and go buy something with.
An investment.
Another investment.
So you create jobs. You create jobs
great deal money over 20 years.
Have it compounded and have your free money make you money. So.
I ain't gonna take it to Vegas, you know what I mean?
It doesn't matter if you're a plumber. I mean, it doesn't matter if you're in the hair industry. It doesn't matter. I mean, pretty much almost any industry for the most part, besides
it's worth a shot. 15 minutes. 15 minutes. What's the worst that can happen? We spend a lot of time on money, but obviously it makes sense for us because on a numbers game, out of 100 of them, even if 50 don't qualify, the other 50 more than compensate, and it's still into the first 50. If I could get you guys a learning curve head start, though, just manage expectations. I made that mistake early on. I'd meet somebody that, based on what I've now taught you, you're like, well, shit. I think you said the gal's name was Mandy, the braid gal? McKinsey. So it sounds good, but McKinsey may have had a drop-through entity that passes through another entity, and boom, all of a sudden this massive recovery goes away. We had a recent one where that's what it is, and if I'm not mistaken, it has something to do with a corporation,
the way
passing
they're flowing their money,
it, brother.
Pretty
much.
So
the behaviors were there, the expenses were there, and there goes that 6-figure, recovery. So now I want you guys to manage expectations. That way nobody gets hurt.
Right.
You tell people they're going to get money, they go start shopping for it. Where's my Ferrari, right? Now you're like, dude, I don't have money for you. Now they hate your guts. So it's better being Santa Claus than the devil. That's what I say.
That's super cool.
I love that.
Guys, Tony's a good man. Flat out, we co-sign right next to, flat out,
Man, that means a lot to me.
We'll be doing it ourselves.
We'll be getting
our stuff together.
I mean, we get hit up quite often for people to be on the podcast. And the hard part about it is I don't want to put people on the podcast that I don't know personally and that I haven't vetted. That's what I have the toughest time with. Because most people want to just get on the podcast and push what they have, right? Or whatever it is, like maybe it's a program or whatever it is, a service that costs X amount of money, and they just want to use this platform to market it so that they win. The cool thing about this is we know Tony. He's fucking vetted. He's a good dude. And secondly, we're talking about finding you money, not selling you something, right? And so that's what I love about it. But, dude, we appreciate you driving 6 hours to come to come meet us and be on the podcast with us. Lastly, I want to talk about 75 hard.
Oh man, okay.
I want to talk about. Right. We've talked about it, with Thomas on the podcast and things like that.
Okay, great.
I'm on day 20 right now.
Are you really?
Yeah.
Congratulations, man.
Yeah, thank you.
Fucking awesome journey.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about that journey, man, because I think that I want to let people know that you're an individual that's also just looking at any way that you can level up and become a better human yourself. And that this is all lessons that we have on pretty much every single one of our podcasts, is trying to teach people how to level up. And I made an Instagram story that you can't give up 75 days of your life for a better version of yourself, then you just don't want it.
Yep.
You like your excuse more than you really want to be better.
You nailed it. You nailed it, man.
So tell us a little bit about the journey. Why the hell did you say yes? I watched Kale do it a year ago, and I didn't do it.
You completed it as well.
Yeah.
Oh, congratulations.
So,
yeah. About a year ago.
Yeah. How much did you drop?
I ended like a week before
Thanksgiving.
I'd already lost like 60 pounds. I lost another
Holy
like 25.
Shit. Are you serious?
Yeah, but I've put like 20 back on, bro. So I just barely actually started back on it.
Kale was like 230 and he got down to like 150, dude.
Dude, that
like
is not an easy
155.
task,
right.
Yeah, he got chopped up real good. So
that's cool, man.
Well, when you run out of breath tying your shoes, it's time to do some shit. You know what I'm saying?
Or when you have to have somebody else tie your shoes, then you for sure know.
Babe, get my shoes.
Yeah, exactly.
That's all right, brother.
So yeah, tell us a little bit about, one, how you got introduced to it, and secondly, why you felt like that you were at a point in your life where you really wanted to commit to something like that, because it's called 75 hard for a reason. It is a big commitment.
It's not 75 easy. That's what I say.
It's definitely a big commitment, and it's taxing, it's wearing. And just so that you guys know, Tony got COVID, and he was
halfway through, 50, 49, day 49 or 50.
40, okay, so basically day 50, he got COVID. And he was running temperatures of 102, 103, 104.
Yeah. 103.4.
And he still pulled himself out of bed and still got his couple workouts in and did the thing, dude. So first off, hats off to you.
You guys are going deep on me here.
Yeah, no, dude, I mean,
could have pulled a Michael Jordan or something and start crying.
I literally, without a doubt,
that's impressive.
It's super impressive.
Thanks, brother. That means a lot to me. We touched on it earlier. I went through some pretty dark shit about 3-4 years ago that we'll talk about another time, and I'd happily come back and do that, because that alone is a pretty powerful, I think, testimony. But about 6 months ago, literally on my birthday, I used to always take care of my friends, or we'd go out, whether it was in Vegas or private planes or whatever it was. We'd always go pretty big. And after a while, man, I was just like, I was about to turn 42, and I'm like, I've lived my life like this for so long. And it wasn't necessarily the alcohol. I'd never gotten involved in drugs, but it was just a lifestyle that I was like, is this really what I want? Let me just do something different. And I saw a clip from Stewman, and I'd never been on a podcast. I'd never been in a group. I'd never joined a mastermind. I looked at it as kind of like buying your friends, kind of like being a sorority or something. And I don't disparage anybody like that, but in my brain, I self-limited myself. They call it limited beliefs,
well,
right?
That's exactly what happens with groups and coaching and this and whatever, mentorship, is people think that it's just because somebody wants to make a bunch of money off of you.
Yep.
Flat out, they should make a bunch of money off of you, because the fact is they have far more life experiences, and you can learn from their life experiences. That is value. They've been through struggle. They've been through a lot of different things, and they've figured out how to make things work. They've figured out how to streamline things. How is that not valuable, right? And so we used to kind of have the same type of mindset about, somebody that labeled themselves as a guru or a coach or this. Like, it has this weird stigma about it. Like, you're talking about buying friends or whatever it is. And
how long ago did you guys join your first mentor or hire your first mentor? I'm curious.
It's been a couple of years, 2 years probably, and without a doubt.
Can't imagine your life without it, right?
No, without
it's like a lifetime membership.
If you're not doing it, you're just... You're not allowing yourself to buy in because you don't want to get sold. What you're holding yourself from buying into is buying into actually something that's really a huge benefit for you.
You're buying into your bullshit of what you think groups are, rather than just buying into the group and just going in with an open mind and an open heart. Like, I want to be better, and tell me what to do, and I'll do it.
So I tell people that all the time now, I'm like, just buy into it, bro. Not just with your money.
Yeah, mentally, everything.
You've done your life this way.
Yeah.
What do you have to lose? 5, 10, 15, 20 grand, whatever it is. We spend that on bottle service.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, man, we got on this private plane to go to Cabo, and I usually have an entourage or a group of friends. I don't like to go out alone. And again, that was probably an insecurity that I had. And now I can come out here and just hang out with you guys alone. But yeah, we got on the plane and just met just an amazing group of people. And these were like, we're talking Super Bowl winners and Olympians. And we're talking just top level people. And Stewman went all out and had this massive mega mansion at the top of Pedregal. And so for 2 days, we never left the mountain, just, masterminded. And it's just guys sitting around that are high level. And all of a sudden, the egos are gone. And people put their guard down and they become really vulnerable. And for the first time, I was able to really, I wouldn't say embarrassed, but I was ashamed of what I had allowed happen. Or I should have been smarter. Or I should have stopped that person from doing that. Or I should have spoke out sooner. So after that, man, right on the spot, I'd never met Stewman, never listened to a podcast, a wire, nothing. And I said, sign me up. And Drewby sold me right then. He showed up like Mr. Deeds.
He's like, I got a credit card machine right now.
Literally, dude. That guy's Mr. Deeds when it comes to sale. God bless his heart, man. That guy is, a machine.
He's a good man.
Good-hearted dude. And everybody there, man, from Danny to Christine and just everybody there you just felt it, man. And it just, there's a vibration in that room. And from that point on, man, once a month we'd all fly in Fridays, we'd call it first Friday of every month. Yeah. And the first one, I was a little, still doing me. We'd go out with some of the guys and come there the next day, a little bit of glitter on my face, maybe, So still kind of not necessarily buying in. And it by no means is it just go be a wholesome person. You can still have fun, but being accountable and all these lessons that we've learned. Yes. So over the course of the 6 months, we got to about month 3 and 4, and I started implementing little pieces that started kind of sinking in. And Tom Keenan, which I believe you guys have already been on, dude, right? Stand-up freaking dude, and New York guy, and I was a little kind of intimidated. I thought he was Dan Bilzerian the first time I met him. So, at that point, I still hadn't found the answers, and I still kind of felt like I had this monkey on my back, and just a lot of deep, dark shit that I can talk to you about later. But, I'm talking to Tom, and Tom says, I said, hey, you're not drinking. I remember you drinking before. And he says, I'm on this program. What is it? Starts telling me the rules. I'm like, I could try that. I could try that. Ooh, 75 days, no drinking. I don't know about that. And I didn't look at it as that I had an alcohol problem, but, I'd been single my whole life, never been married, no kids. I had a goldfish once. That was the extent of responsibility.
How long did the goldfish last?
Goldie? Yeah, man.
Probably a year or two.
Somebody poisoned.
Went bellied up.
It was about 3 years.
Or you shared a drink with Goldie one time.
Somebody did that at a party. That's what
and then it turns belly up.
I got attached to that damn fish, I tell you that. So, dude. So Tom says, man, just try it. What do you have to lose? And he goes, the biggest thing he said, and I think we talked about this last time with me and him on a cast, and I said, Tom, I'll never forget where we were sitting, what we were saying. And he told me, he's like, dude, I was the same as you. In our industry, we wine and dine people, et cetera. And he says, that became the easiest part. And so once I started it did become the easiest part. And coincidentally, one of my best friends, Jose Altamirano, my attorney from Miami, was down. He's gotten a little bit bigger, and he's like, dude, you know what? If you do it, I'll do it. And that accountability partner is key. Yeah. And from that point on, man, he stayed at my house for a couple of weeks, and he'd be on the Peloton. I'd come down, and that machine was fabulous for me. I mean, that really, really saved my ass, because there was days, especially when I had COVID, where I just look at it and I get on, and all it took is 45 days of commitment. And the thing isn't about working out or pushing it's just that mental thing. And when I got COVID, I remember it was about 103.4 or something like that. And it was like 10:30, and I couldn't even get off the couch. Yeah. And I fell asleep. The alarm goes off. It's 11:30, and I was like, man, I'm about to fail. And I literally, I was crying, just like a little girl. I was crying. And I was like, I'm going to finish. I was at day 50. I'm like, fuck, this thing's not going to see it. I got out, put on a hoodie, walked down, and about an hour and a half later, I woke up. I didn't know. The fever had just hit me so hard. I didn't know where I was. And in Irvine, where I lived, it's like a Grestick in the TV show Weeds. It's fucking cookie cutter houses. I'm looking around and panicking, like, I don't know where the hell I am. It's like a delirium dream. So dude, I walked back home, and from that point on, thankfully, I got a little bit better. But I think because my body, I was doing keto, I'd been busting my ass, so my body took a lot much longer to recover. So it kicked my ass for a good 2 weeks, but it was hard. But once it was over, man, you just can't think. So I dropped a total of 24.2 pounds, just under 25. And best decision I ever made, man. And from that point on, I've just been vibrating at a different level. And I don't know if it's the 75 days of not drinking, but I've been talking about this privately with us. I've been sleeping 3 to 4 hours a night, but I'm popping up. And shit, I wouldn't be here right now if I wasn't up at 3 a.m. emailing Skinner, and all of a sudden a real estate deal ends up with me being out here. So it's just flowing, man. It's flowing, and then I just find myself in interesting things like, chasing faith now, or chasing, like, God, there's got to be more than this. So I was always a spiritual person, and somehow Friday night we're down in Dallas. We end up at Steuben's Church, Keith Craft's church, and I told my buddy, I'm like, at church. He's like, there's a strip club called church. Literally. So it's just you start vibrating at different levels when you're at this. And you guys, I'm sure you know what the hell I'm talking about.
Well, of course. Totally. But I just like hearing it from somebody else.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Because this always comes from us. Yeah. If people listen to this podcast, this comes from us. Yeah. So it's nice to have somebody that's in one of the groups that we're in, be on the show and talk about the power.
Yeah, it's very powerful, dude.
Of a group that are all trying to do the same thing. Be a better version of themselves, grow their business, become more disciplined, become more grateful, more happy, more fulfilled, more. So you dropped, 24 pounds, but what did you gain?
Yeah, and it's not just external. I think that's the biggest thing, and I now I kind of hesitate post. You do
talking
before
about
and
weight
after
or whatever.
The weight, because I don't want to discourage anybody to say, well, I don't need to lose. It wasn't about the weight. It's about this internal change that's now changed in me to where the confidence is different, and it's just, I can't wait until 6 more months from now. And now I'm like, screw that. Like, we try to go out while we were in Dallas just to have a celebration drink on September 12th now. 11 was the 75th day for me.
Yeah.
And had a few drinks.
It just wasn't the same.
I'm like, I didn't really care. I'm like,
you woke up the next day and
the credit card tab comes and it's 8 times as much as what it was during the 75 hours. Like,
yeah. The water's cheaper.
Everything.
And you got to drink a gallon of water. So
you do have to drink a gallon of water, and I think that for a lot of people ends up being the hardest. But man, was it for you?
Yeah, no, the water's been easy for me. It's
the time commitment, probably.
No, all of it, dude. I enjoy working out. I love working out, so I love that side of it. I love the reading. I love the water. I fucking love Chick-fil-A, though. So
there it is. There it is.
The food aspect of it for me is definitely the toughest because I like to sauce my shit up. Now I got to eat grilled chicken nuggets from Chick-fil-A without dipping into that beautiful heavenly yellow sauce.
Sugary sauce.
Oh my God. Like I can bathe in that shit. But so I'm missing my sauce on day 20, that's for sure. But that's about it. That's about it, is just minor food cravings. But I've been noticing the longer that you do it, the less that you crave.
And wasn't it weird that alcohol didn't, I don't know about you guys, but I didn't miss it after about 3. There was an awkwardness. We try to go out 4th of July and everybody's raging. We're down by the beach in Newport Beach. And there's a little moments of awkwardness, but then you're kind of like, then everybody gets drunk. And you're like, fuck, do I act like that when I'm drunk?
Right?
My buddy's like, yep.
Actually, no, you act worse. The party's chilled out since you started doing this workout program.
Right.
You're still pissing on the beach just as much as you were when you were drinking, though, because that's when you're drinking a gallon of water. You got to go to the bathroom every freaking 30 minutes, it feels like. But no, I just wanted people to understand the difficult decisions, difficult commitments, biting off something large like that and just all out committing to it is something that has the ability to change your life.
Yeah, brother. Yeah.
It really does. When's the last time you really flat out challenged yourself? Yeah. When's the last time that you bit off something that you were a little scared of? Like, shit, can I really do this? And then you get 1 day in or 2 days in and you start seeing, by the time you get 4 or 5 days, you don't want to fuck up. You don't want to waste what you've already done. So it does this weird thing. But even to the last 2 days, I've been a little bit more tired than normal. But what I enjoy about it is watching my mind try.
That's awesome.
To shift me, and make me not do something that I should be doing.
You literally have battles in your head, right?
But I went into it knowing that was going to happen. So it's really interesting. And now I'm watching my mind try to say, hey, you're tired. Don't go out for that, or that's fine. You should be able to eat that. And try to convince me to walk that line a little too close or step over the line and fell. So it's interesting when you go into it expecting the mental battle, and then you see your mind play the tricks on you. And it's just interesting how your mind does that, how it just craves comfort. It just craves ease and comfort. And I think that that's one of the biggest issues in today's world, is that everybody chooses the easy route. That's just DoorDash. Let's just get it right to that. I don't even want to get in my fucking car to go through the drive-thru anymore. How hard is it to go through a drive-thru and talk into a microphone and pull up to the next window and get food? Fuck, cavemen would be jealous as shit as that. But now we can have it delivered to the cave, so to speak, you know? It's just getting easier and easier to be more and more comfortable. And there's just no really growth in comfort and ease. It's just not the way it is. You talked about, hey, you know, I had dark times 3 or 4 years ago. I'm a firm believer that when you hit a bottom in life, that's life-changing. When you actually ask yourself the right questions, because you said, man, am I going to continue to do this? Did I live? You started having that conversation with yourself. And I think that that's usually what's missing with people, is they're not asking themselves those questions. They'll just continue. They'll throw down another drink so that the questions are gone.
Right. You're numbing it.
You're getting rid of it. Everybody knows whether or not you're living up to your full potential, and there's something eating at you. There's something nagging at you, and then eventually you give it enough attention and you ask those tough questions, and then you end up like Tony in a group that absolutely at one point thought it was buying friends or this or that, you know, labeling something that's really special as something negative. But we do that so that we can remain the same and continue to live like we live without feeling guilt.
You also change your mindset in the sense that I used to be such a fucking asshole. Like, I would judge people based on, you know, Burton Hughes, which is one of the coolest, nicest, humblest dudes in the world, right?
And the most ripped motherfucker, too.
Oh, my God.
He's on, like, romance novels and shit.
He's been on, like, 400 cover magazines, and he still is. And he's just, you know, but a humble family guy, you know, Christian, but...
He doesn't have to be humble either. He's a good-looking fucker, and he's ripped as shit. He's been on a bunch of magazine covers. He's got the Lamborghini. He's got the Rolls Royces. You know, he has a specific life that allows somebody to have an ego, but that's not him.
And what a piece of shit I was, that the first time I met him at the Fly-In Friday, you know,
we're prejudged.
This guy... what do you do? Well, he goes, I'm going to go knock on some doors in roofing, you know? And I was like, oh, do you own the company? He's like, oh, you know... So automatically, I discounted him compared to the guy that owns the software company, or Nine Figures and Sales. That guy's crushing the game, and will continue to crush the game. And in this industry specifically, he's got a story that resonates. And I saw his Millionaire Mastermind thing, man. My mom and me were crying. And dude, that's the improvement that I care about, not the exterior. Is now I don't judge people anymore. The guy had a Louisiana accent. I'm like, oh, he's just a hillbilly. No, he's a fucking awesome roofer. Matt, dude, Matt's one of the coolest motherfuckers in the world, and he's successful. But again, I used to have this prejudging, and it took this kind of moment of clarity to kind of say, okay, it's me. You know, let me look in the mirror and say, what the hell is wrong with you? Are you deflecting your own issues on other people? And that's what it was, bro.
That's all it is. That's all it is.
It's crazy to hear the different things people take away from that type of challenge.
Yeah,
it's cool.
What's crazy is Tony was probably a completely different person 6 months ago.
Right.
You know, and he's the growth that he's probably had in the last 6 months could probably equal the growth that you had, you know, just mentally over the last 20 years.
Absolutely.
That's how rapid.
I haven't been to the gym that much. I mean, I had a membership at Equinox, $300 a month, but hanging out in the sauna or on the roof.
Just minor stuff.
We have a bar, by the way, in the fucking gym in Newport Beach, California. Like, what is wrong with that picture? You'd come out after workout, and there's a Stella machine and a full bar. Right? So I'm spending time at the bar more than anything.
The wrong bar. You're supposed to be at the bench press bar, not the actual bar.
Yeah, man. You know? No, I haven't been this, you know, been in this shape since ever.
Yeah.
I had not gone 75 days not drinking since I took my first sip. I never had an alcohol problem, obviously, because I was able to shut it off, and it's not missing from my life. I was numbing myself.
Exactly. And that's usually what it is. That's usually what it is if somebody has to do that. Well, not because of the withdrawals or whatever. You're masking a bigger issue.
It is.
And
everybody's got demons, and I think
everybody
Andy talked about that. He goes, everybody thinks that there's something wrong with them. Like, you're a freak. I think he's called it, right?
Yeah, exactly. So
it's true.
Dude,
I didn't know we were getting that deep, bro. But
no, I
loved it.
We decided to build a webpage though, so that we could direct people to you for the R&D tax credit. I think everybody should do it, right?
Yeah, 100. If you own a business, do it.
I'll commit to your audience. I mean, anybody. I don't care if you do have a restaurant. We'll try it out. I mean, again, we'll take the cost, but it takes 15, 20, at least a conversation. Yeah. We'll ask some questions, and if one of them disqualifies you, we'll just tell you, hey, it took 15 minutes of your time.
Well, I've never asked somebody to do something I'm not willing to do. We're doing it. We're going to have our company taxes, and we're an accounting firm, and we're going to have our company taxes looked over by your guys, and we're going to see if we've left any money out there on the R&D credits. So I think everybody should do it. What is the webpage we decided to come up with?
It's going to be realbusinessowners.com/get money. Okay, because that's what it is. We're talking about getting money, right? Yep. So get, G-E-T, money.
Yep.
Okay, so realbusinessowners.com/get money. Guys, go there. What we're going to do is just have a form that has, name, phone number, and email, right? And then at that point, you will reach out to that individual or maybe email them something.
Yeah, somebody from our staff will. And if you guys, they'll ask you some qualifying questions.
Okay.
And again, for you guys and your, what's your reach? A couple 100,000 people or whatever. If 200,000 people call me, it's going to take me a while. But so it's either going to be me or staff. But if
everyone's going to want to talk to you,
yeah, if it's like 15, 20 people, dude, I'll give people my personal attention. This is what we do. I don't have it's this and a couple other businesses that are passive. But for me, it's fun giving the money back. And because of the type of licenses that I have and have had, I guess maybe I'm a little extra paranoid. So the disclaimers are, I am not a CPA. I some of this stuff we've talked about, probably I just want to make sure that I'm not giving you guys tax advice.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, we're just going to give the documents to our CPAs, and they will let you know what's going to happen from that point on.
Cool. Seems pretty straightforward, people. So make sure that you go to realbusinessowners.com/get money. And, just fill out that information so that we can get it over to Tony. And Tony could be your Santa Claus, if it takes 3 or 4 months or whatever, Christmas is coming.
And one last thing before you sign off, I think for me, there's an announcement that I'm going to do a little bit later on. But one of the things that I kind of followed in your guys' footsteps, and I really admire what you guys built out. Yeah. Everybody had said a couple of times, they say, come do a podcast. And after a while, the concept became, I've been an insider in the industry for a long time, and the concept of insider information, and there's a lot of shit that I've seen that I couldn't talk about, and now I want to be able to talk about it. So we decided to do a podcast with Zachary.
Let's do it again.
And it's going to be called theinsidershow.com. And it's going to be first me telling you guys shit that I can't talk about right now.
Insidershow.com is what the website's going to be.
Theinsidershow.com.
Theinsidershow.com.
You got it, brother.
Okay.
And from that point on, then I'm going to bring in titans of industry, insiders within their industry, professional athletes, guys that have knowledge that, not necessarily
peeling back the curtain on all sorts of industries, right?
That's the idea.
We see what we see. But
tell me more.
Yeah, exactly.
What did you see being in that business?
What's happening in the locker room, not out on the field, right? We don't see the locker room. We get to see them play on the field, right?
That's some shit I would jump into and listen to.
Yeah, absolutely. Zach's actually going to be on our podcast in the next week or two.
Is he?
Very cool, dude. I talked to him today, man. I put it out in the universe that I was looking for somebody like that, and it got delivered. And I tell you what,
it's incredible.
It's crazy the shit that the vibration levels just keep happening, and it's weird talking about it, bro.
It is weird talking about it because I say frequencies, and I feel like a fucking hippie and weirdo. Like, how is this gonna be received?
I'm not trying to sell your religion, dude. It's just a different vibe, and I'm excited to see where that takes me, and who knows, and whether it's a God thing, but I used to say that I have an ego, but it was edging God out. You know what I mean? Yeah. And whatever your definition of God is, if it's Buddha, if it's Allah, if it's this, that's cool. But are you edging it out? Is that your ego that you're edging God out? And that phrase has really resonated with me. So that's what I've been doing. And for now, I'm open, dude. It's like, hey, you want me to go to this church with you? I'll go because I want to see. I want to see. There's more. I'm thirsty now.
I wanted to go. I had flights home. I want to go to that Keith Craft.
Dude, that was a cool thing, man. That dude's got a cool story. And again, shame on me that I had this misconception about a guy that's got a mega church with cool cars, but that guy's a mentor and a half. You know, I hope to be able to be at that level one day to be able to afford something like that.
We're prejudging.
Yeah,
you know, they got something nice. Oh, well, he's just doing that because of that.
Yeah.
You know, my guess is when he started, he probably didn't have a bunch. He was doing it out of the goodness of his heart. And when you actually do things with purity and you're genuine about it, and it's just true and real, all of a sudden the things just start happening and coming to you because you're doing things with pure intentions. And that's that individual, right?
He actually he's a super baller before he started the church. So he doesn't take a penny from the church and actually puts money into it.
He's cool, man.
That's what really impressed me, man, because he didn't need to do this.
Yeah.
And he built this massive church in Frisco. So
I'm going to stay a couple days.
I'll go with you, man. Because it was a cool experience.
Well, every time we come down there, we're always in a hurry. We got like another flight to catch to another city to land some new accounts, and we just came from Phoenix, and so got family back home, kids in sporting events. You know, you name it, man. There's always a rush back home, but I was telling Trevor, I'm like, we got to stay a couple days next time we get down to Dallas.
There's like business lessons in there. Yeah, man. It was really cool. It was really, really cool.
No, I like it.
I missed out on that this month. That's one that I was bummed at.
Yeah. No, I'm down to go again with you, man. Like I said, it wasn't just a religious thing. It was like literally business lessons. We're talking politics, uplifting, and just like like-minded dudes. And you know, some people were thirsty, some people were super faithful, and everybody was doing their own thing. Nobody was preaching anything, so it was cool. I liked it.
Yeah, that's what's cool about the groups. When everybody's genuine and is really trying to level up, it peels back the onion and layers a little bit. Maybe you got your homies that you party with and this, that, the other, and everyone's trying to act all macho and who can guzzle the beer the quickest and shit like that. But you're not really peeling back the onion. It's very surface level shit. Yeah. And then when you actually get into groups and you meet other people that are trying to do real shit, you know, you can get to know somebody pretty quick within 1 or 2 meetings. Yeah. You know, and find out what their true intentions are. And everybody's intention is just, one, try to do the right thing. I want to level up. I want to do better. I want my family to do better. I want my business to do better. Everybody just has just good intentions, because you're not going to pay money to be in a group just for the fun of it, to buy a friend, right? Yeah. You're paying money, and then you're gonna go in there with a little bit different intent to actually extract something. And when you start buying in, like Kel talked about, that's when you start seeing the shift happen.
Your alignment changes. And I've heard that phrase before and I never understood it. It's like, of course, now that I've got my alignment right, like I'm aligned with you guys, I'm aligned with you. All of a sudden, these people are aligning myself. Now I find my assignment. All of a sudden, I'm like, this is my why. When people would say, what's your why? I'd be like, well, I don't know. People used to say they're kids, you know, like you guys both have a family and kids. Mine was like, oh, I want to make my parents proud. Is that really a why? You know, but now you're like, dude, I have an assignment. It's to spread a message. It's to talk about it. It's to save people from getting fucked by certain entities and certain people. So that's now my assignment. It's more, you know what I mean?
Now you've kind of found your purpose, and you're shifting gears.
That's it, bro.
And helping others. Yeah. You know, and and that's a good feeling by itself. You know, even if you get to make money doing it, that even better. You know, if you can help people and make money, that's when you're really vibrating.
That's your why. All
exactly. You know, sure, so that's what makes it awesome. So, guys, we know you enjoyed today's episode, because I fucking did. You know, that's cool. That's the truth. So, make sure you're sharing this information with family, friends, loved ones, people that you know that own businesses, because I was already talking on the podcast. I'm already thinking of people that I think that can benefit from this, because I want to give them that gift as well. Because when you tell somebody about something and then they can get a check for 10 grand, 50 grand, 100 grand, you can't tell me that person is not going to love you for the rest of your life. Absolutely. You know, and then just ask them for a steak dinner or whatever, or a veggie steak if you're vegan or whatever. So, but yeah, we hope you enjoyed today's episode. Make sure you share it. Check out the YouTube channel if you want to actually watch the episode. Make sure you write a review and you subscribe to the podcast. Other than that, keep it real and have a kick-ass day.